So, and I mean, which other political party would you imagine would put a 16-year-old in front of a TV camera? We recently had a 17-year-old in front of doing a major interview on national television. They're just conquering the world. I mean, it's perfect. And not only that, I mean, the message you're sending is that we're the party for this generation. All the other parties have people in their like 40s, 60s, look generally somewhere between color TV and broadcast radio. We are the next generation's fighters for civil liberties, and we look like it. Educate people, train people, trust people to deal with media. It is hard, don't underestimate it, but most people can perform perfectly. Own the tech media. They are generally very friendly to us. If you look at IDG, if you look at Computer World, if you look at whatever equivalents you have in Finland, in other countries they have been very favorable to us and to our ideas. That's the first inroads we make to media. And the comments sections, I talked about those earlier. They're very easy to own once you have the communications network set up. You can also recruit there. I frequently discover somebody very talented, like just going on a spree in comments field in online newspapers, and like having really brilliant rhetoric and being really energetic and devoted to these issues, and yet they're not part of the organization. Easiest recruits ever. And most of these people I've recruited this way are now making a very real difference at the national level. Press releases. If you don't get the press release out while the reporters are writing about the story, don't bother sending them at all. In this case, it's said that perfect is the enemy of good enough. In this case, it's even more than that. If the reporter doesn't get the pirate party's quotes in their hands while they're still working on the story and thinking about what to write, if they get it at that time, the quotes are going into the story like that. Absolutely, and every time. On the other hand, if you send the quotes the day after the story is broken, the reporters are going to be writing on other stuff. You can do this by, if there are verdicts coming up, if there are events you know that are coming up, have a couple of pre-written press releases and just decide which one to send. We frequently send press releases like 2 or 5 minutes after a verdict. We get into the press every single time. Media lossage. Yeah, don't count on mainstream media. I've spoken about that already. Finally, internationally. There is an international community. Take part of it. We are helping each other. We are giving heads-ups to each other. Do subscribe to the international mailing list. At least make sure that some of you do, so that you see what's happening in other countries. Like now, Denmark is introducing a radical new censorship law that's really horrible. The most horrible thing about it is that it's not even a law, it's just a tribunal where people can censor websites on basis of copyright infringements. This story first broke in the international pirate party mailing list and then hit Torrent Freak 12 hours later. We know that tech editors for all the major news outlets are monitoring the international pirate party mailing list. It is a source of information. Community recognition, social glue, right. Take the opportunity to send at least a few people to the international conferences. Just like we meet here today, meeting internationally and feeling this enormous energy from all over fucking Europe. it makes you realize that you're part of something big. We all are. Like when a junior guy from Sweden went to the last international conference in Berlin and came home and realized that he had just been discussing strategies about how to get into the European Parliament with Polish guys. And this guy's 18, and it was like, this was the moment of truth for him, that fuck, this is real. The next international conference is in Uppsala, just by Stockholm. It's on June 27 through 29 on the weekend. Starts on Friday night, ends on Sunday at Sunday lunch. So it's fairly close to here. Then St. Petersburg in winter, that's also fairly close to here. International lossage is not really an issue. I mean, you can't lose on that level. So to end this with a couple of canned answers, I mean, what are the questions I always get? And I sort of like, okay, that's the 312th time I got this particular question. What do you answer to this? Yep.
Who cares about the record labels? It's artists that should be getting the revenue anyway.
That's a good one. A lot of people say that, does file sharing hurt the record labels? No, you're shaking your head.
Personally, I think their entire model is flawed because they created a model which is centralized around the fact that you own distribution, and not about the fact that it's something which is creatively so unique that you should be able to protect it this way. So,
right, they own the distribution. Their business model is aimed at protecting distribution. That's one very important angle. I tend to be more brief in my response. How will the artist get paid? Did you ever hear that question? Yep.
If file sharing really would kill the artists, they'd all be dead already.
If file sharing really would kill the artists, they'd all be dead already. That's a good response. So we're saying that file sharing doesn't hurt the artists. We're saying that it's a good thing. But then again, that sort of opens up the can of worms for, okay, so how do you propose they get paid? How do you, I mean, where does the money come from if it doesn't come from file sharing? And I'm not asking for answers here because it's gonna drag on. And stealing is wrong. Well, what I'm saying here, sorry, did you have it?
No, we're not stealing, we're sharing.
Right. Record labels are losing money. Excellent. In a market economy, they are not adding value, so they should vanish. They should go the way of the dodo. There are no people selling ice on the streets. There is no longer any place for street lamp lighters either. People distributing digital patterns on physical media should go away. How will the artists get paid? The same way everybody else. The instant they want to get paid for their creative works, they stop being an artist and become a businessman. And in that instant, the same rule applies to them as every other businessman. They need to provide something that somebody else is willing to pay for. When I say this, that's the end of the discussion.
But how we are supposed to be a businessman nowadays? How do you make money nowadays? What are the new rules for making money? That's the question still, right?
It's not our problem.
It is, but when I am asked that, I can say that, well, you have this and this and this and this and this example. What we can see is that there are many entrepreneurs who are finding new ways of making money, and therefore it is not a problem.